So the laws, all the basic laws which are covered in thermodynamics, such as zeroth law, first law, second law, and even third law, all those four laws of thermodynamics are very applicable, very much applicable in the study of heat transfer, as well as there are other laws such as law of energy, general energy conservation, law of momentum conservation, law of momentum conservation, or mass conservation, and the laws of and general laws of heat transfer. Just a minute. Sorry, there was a little disturbance, so I had to clear out. Mm. Uh, Apart from laws of thermodynamics, the other general laws such as Newton's laws of motion, that is Newton's first law, second law, and third law, all those come very useful while dealing with heat transfer, and all those we will be using at various points at different times whenever it is required. Then there are some other subsidiary laws that we will discuss in subsequent lectures, such as those will be applicable for particular modes of heat transfer. We also covered the discussion on the general modes of heat transfer. That is how this mechanism of heat transfer occurs. So there are basically three modes: one conduction, second convection, and third radiation. All those three modes were explained in the last couple of lectures, and we also extended our discussion to certain depth and length, so that we covered many aspects of all these modes of heat transfer in certain details. And all those were discussed with the help of practical examples, such as cooking pan, cooking utensils. All these are made up of highly conducting materials such as metals, and conduction is predominantly seen in case of all these metals, metallic pans, or cooking appliances. Then convection is mostly seen in case of fluids, liquids, and gases. Whenever heat transfer is involved with the liquids and gases, the mode of heat transfer is always convection. So convection always occurs between the interface of solid and the fluid which is in contact with the solid. So whenever there is a temperature difference between a solid surface and the fluid in contact, the fluid may be a liquid or a gas, and whenever there is a temperature difference, uh, so heat transfer will take place. Heat transfer will always take place from high temperature to low temperature, because of a temperature difference. So we learned that the necessary condition for a heat transfer to occur is the temperature difference. So whenever there is a temperature difference, then and then only there will be heat transfer. If temperature difference is not there, that is, bodies which are in contact uh, are are at same temperature, or in the thermal equilibrium, so heat transfer will not take place in that case. Then whenever there is a temperature difference, the heat transfer may take place uh, via any mode. It may be possible by conduction, it may be possible by convection, and it may be possible by radiation. Radiation is the third mode of heat transfer, that also we covered with various examples, and it is mostly seen at different cases, at different situations. For example, the solar radiations, the solar energy that we receive on the Earth's surface, it is because of the energy transfer in the form of electromagnetic waves. There are some energy which exists in the form of electromagnetic waves that we cannot see. We cannot see with our eyes. Uh, Electromagnetic waves or radiations, they range from they are spread over a range of wavelength and frequencies. Then visible light is just a small part of electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves is a very big family. Out of that, a visible light, whatever we can see, that is a visible light. That is a small part. So all these light waves or light rays light rays also carry the also carry the heat energy in the form of radiations. So solar energy that we receive on the earth, we can see by light, we can see with our eyes. So visual light is just one form, uh, and uh, and there are some other waves, electromagnetic waves, such as microwaves, ultraviolet rays, infrared radiations. All those we cannot see with our open eyes. So, but still they carry the energy, that is heat. So radiation is another or third mode of heat transfer, and that does not require any material medium. Okay, that is why we are able to receive the solar energy from such a large distance between the sun and the earth. Sun is located at some more than millions of kilometers away from the earth, and in between there is space that is empty. It is all vacuum or empty space. There is no material medium, no gas, no any liquid, no any medium in between the sun and the earth. But still, we are able to receive the solar energy uh, on the earth. So that is because of radiation. Uh, so this radiation principle is also used in some of the cooking appliances such as microwave oven. Many of you might be having this facility at your kitchen, at your home, or may have seen at some places or some restaurants or canteens. Um microwave oven is used to cook the food or uh, to heat the food items to raise its temperature, and that is done by microwave radiations. No any material medium required, no any liquid or gas is required. It is just empty space, and electromagnetic wave radiations are generated by with the help of some electrical device, and heating takes place due to this emission of these electromagnetic radiations. So radiation actually is mostly seen whenever there is a whenever temperature is very high. When temperature goes more than let's say more than 100 degrees Celsius, more than 500 degrees Celsius. In that case, radiation is possible, and this amount of radiation is proportional to the fourth power of absolute temperature. Actually, uh, that is given by Stefan Boltzmann law. That law we are going to see in detail when we talk about radiation further. So so all these modes we have already covered with the help of suitable and practical examples, and all the cases were explained. Then we went on to discuss. Let me share. Just a minute. Uh, I'm going to share my screen, and that will be visible to you. If you are having any problem or any trouble while receiving my voice, if it is not clear or loud, any issue with the internet signal or sound signal, if there is any echo or double sound, you can put it through message box. You can put your message in the message box. Chat box is enabled to all, and thereby I can get your feedback. If anything is there to correct, that I will do from my side, and at least I will get some feedback from you. Anyways, I have shared a screen. I hope you will be able to see. Just let us uh, have a general discussion again. Basically, why are we studying this? course of heat transfer. This is because there are many applications of this phenomenon of heat transfer in our day-to-day life. Some phenomenon are natural ones, and some are man-made or artificial ones. Yeah, under natural phenomenon, there are so many environmental things happening, such as climate change. Climate change is sensed through the change in temperature and uh, change in the weather conditions. Generation of dew and fog, again heating and cooling of earth surfaces, formation of rain, snow, storm. Okay, all these natural aspects can be studied with the help of knowledge of heat transfer. And somehow heat transfer is involved by with the heat transfer is always involved with such natural phenomenon. When we come to as compared to natural phenomenon, there are very wide range of applications uh, in industries as well as in our day-to-day life. There are so many different mechanical and various electronics devices where some heating or cooling process is always occurring. So, as listed out here, these are the industrial applications where heat transfer is going to be required. Heat exchangers are special items which are used in very at which are used at various factories such as sugar factory, textile mills, any food processing industry, petrochemical industry, pharmaceutical industries, because there's some fluids have to be some materials have to be cooled or heated with the help of some fluid. It may be hot water, it may be hot steam, it may be hot air. Uh, so such type of heating or cooling processes have to be carried out at such industries or at such factories. So special devices such as heat exchangers have to be used. Then steam generators or steam boilers. These are typically used in power plants or power stations. Steam generators, as you know, you have learnt in thermodynamics as well as you are learning in applied thermodynamics 1. Steam generator or boiler is a mechanical device that is used to produce the high pressure and high temperature steam at required conditions by burning the appropriate amount of fuel, such as coal or oil or ga- oil or gas. By combustion, a lot of heat is generated, and that heat will be used to generate the steam. The same way, manufacturing technology, you are aware of casting processes, forging processes, even heat treatment and machining processes of the of various metals and other materials. In that, it is going to be useful. Then applications such as refrigeration and air conditioning, these are very special applications, and uh, te- uh, these are involved with the temperature. So particularly in refrigeration and air conditioning, cooling process is involved. A cooling of some body or some cabinet or some air conditioning room uh, below the temperature of ambient. So for that matter, heat has to be removed. Heat has to be removed from a particular space or particular body or a cabinet. And that case we have to deal with the heat transfer. So again, in automobile, aircraft, power plant, various electronics cooling applications, domestic applications, and this list will go on. Okay, this is not exhaustive. Natural phenomenon. Just I explained you that the formation of winds or breezes uh, that happen because of unequal heating and cooling of land surfaces and sea surfaces, and such all those things can be studied. Then heat exchangers, they look like this. Some pictures are there in front of you. Um these are all types, and in in our syllabus we are going to study all these types of heat exchangers in details, because there is a dedicated chapter is there to learn to study and learn all the details and aspects of heat exchangers. So these are used for either cooling or heating services. Then in case of automobile and aircraft, this is very familiar picture to you. You know, you have seen at your two-wheeler engines, two-wheeler IC engines of your two-wheeler, or maybe multi-cylinder engines used in four-wheelers. All these engines have to be cooled. Proper cooling has to be arranged, because they are running continuously for hours and hours, and internal combustion is being taken place. So due to combustion of a fuel internally in such a small space, a lot of heat generation occurs, and due to this, temperature temperature of the cylinder body, uh, cylinder body, cylinder head goes up to very high level, and that has to be limited. If it is not cooled down to a safer limit, uh, some material failure may occur, and if it exceeds beyond the melting point temperature of that material, so in that case there will be some permanent failure. So so that, to avoid that, and to avoid the overheating of engine bodies, engine components, cooling system has to be provided. Two-wheeler engines are very small size and compact engines, so air cooling is provided here. And in case of multi-cylinder engines, cooling jacket has to be constructed or provided around the cylinders, and through that, cooling water or some cooling media will be circulated, so that it will take the heat away from the heated surfaces. A car radiator, that also you know, is always installed in front of the in front, and if you just open the bonnet of your car or car or any vehicle, you will get to see such item. So this is a car radiator. This is particularly used to cool the cooling water. The cooling water first will take away the heat from the engine body. So because of that, its temperature will rise, and to cool that heated water, and we need this radiator component or radiator heat exchanger, because we have to use the same quantity of water or same amount of water again and again. We have to circulate. So heating of that water takes place in engine body, engine cooling jacket, and cooling of the same liquid or water takes place in a car radiator. All the Right now I'm just explaining a general idea or general concept. I'm not going into detail how that happens, and what are the parameters that affect the performance and all. All those things we are going to learn in detail uh, when we take that particular topic. Similar fashion, in power plant, there are so many devices such as steam generator, condenser, cooling tower. All these require the knowledge of heat transfer. Same is the case with refrigeration and air conditioning. Such window air conditioning units or split ACs you might have seen at various locations. Domestic refrigerators, many of us have it at our home and kitchens. Air cooler is just another mm, air conditioning or air cooling equipment. So all these require the knowledge of heat transfer. Then another aspect of electronics cooling, nowadays,
झालं काय रे लेक्चर?
Okay, hello all. I have once again joined. Is my voice reaching to you? Just give me a confirmation from a message box. You can say yes, no. Are you able to get my voice? Okay, okay. Couple of responses I got. Okay, thank you. Uh, Wait, just I'm sharing the screen. I hope it is visible to you. Okay. So we were discussing about various applications and electronic schooling. Nowadays, you see, we are like living in the digital world. So all the digital and smart devices, they all work on electronics, because basically it is all electronics, and uh, the items from the computer science are involved. And if you look at the hardware, um, you just if you look at the if you take out the cover of any computer or any laptop, you will get to see such items. And in such a compact space, in such a small space, and small and compact space, so many components are installed, and these are consuming lot of energy. They are continuously running for hours and hours, and because of this, a lot of heat generation takes place due to continuous current conduction through all these electronic components, electronic and uh, smart device components. A lot of heat generation takes place, and those that heat has to be removed. That heat has to be removed out of these spaces, and the space available is very congested, very small. So because of this, uh, heat concentration effect takes place, and due to this, temperature of these items or its component increases like anything. And if temperatures are not maintained below certain safe limit, below certain working or allowable limit, these some of these components may fail. They may damage, and it will lead to permanent failure of the entire system. Maybe a computer system, or maybe any smart device, or any server at large IT data centers and all. So all these require some form of a cooling, and such type of a cooling fans are provided, and some areas are also increased with the by the provision of fins. Fins are like extended surfaces. Uh, we are going to study all those in details. Uh, because one aspect of heat transfer is heat transfer rate always uh, increases with the area, or it is always directly proportional to the area available. It may be surface area, or it may be a cross sectional area, but whenever area increases, or if you give more amount of more area, uh, the heat transfer rate will increase. So thereby, for cooling of these items, uh, area has to be increased, surface area has to be increased. So, and cooling fans are provided, so thereby heat transfer can easily take place by convection. So forced convection is typically used in this type of a cooling. Then manufacturing technology, as you know, particularly in casting, casting is taken out from the furnace, which is at very high temperature, like 1500 or 200 2000 degrees Celsius, and these casting items or casting items have to be cooled down. They may be cooled down naturally, or some media will be used, maybe oil or maybe water. If oil and water are used, that will be a quenching process. In quenching, what happens? Heat removal is very fast, or heat removal is very quick, and thereby we will get a different quality of casting. Um, in same happens in metal cutting, machining also, due to very high speed of cutting. Cutting tool and metal direct contact is there. Due to that, a lot of friction takes place, and due to friction, a lot of heat generation takes place, and that heat has to be removed with the help of some coolant, or cooling arrangement has to be made. Same is the case with the space technology. Nowadays, a lot of space programs are being run by many agencies, maybe government or maybe some private, and lot of satellite launching activity is happening. Uh, at the same time, uh, we are uh, we are taking on the missions like the Chandrayaan, and even some space missions such as Mangalyaan, that we have been involved, and spaceships and even satellites are being sent to uh, these other planets. So in those cases, heat transfer is always involved. Particularly, it will be radiation, because in space, as there is no any material medium involved, it will be by radiation. So radiation heat transfer has to be handled well. So in this manner, from domestic applications such as water heater or solar water heater, or even cooking appliances in kitchen, to very advanced technology such as space technology and electronics cooling. All these areas cover the aspects of heat transfer, and they require sound knowledge of heat transfer, so that all these technical problems can be solved, either maybe by either providing heating or maybe cooling. So these are broad areas of heat transfer, or applications of heat transfer, that I wanted to just share with you. Now coming back to our formal course, we had uh, we had we had finished this part of Fourier's law of heat conduction. Now we are taking on the mode of heat transfer, that is conduction. We are starting our study with the simplest form of heat transfer, that is conduction. So in conduction, this is governed by Fourier's law, that we have already discussed in last lecture. So I will quickly review. So whenever there is a heat transfer from through the solid, that will be by conduction, just like here. A brick wall is shown. One face is at 20 degrees Celsius, other face is at 5 degrees Celsius. So temperature difference is available from high temperature of 20 to low temperature of 5. So whenever such a temperature difference or temperature gradient is available, heat conduction will always occur. And this heat conduction is governed by Fourier's law. It says that the rate of heat transfer, that is heat transfer through this uh, solid medium, in a particular direction, like here in particular in x direction, in a horizontal x direction, is directly proportional to the area which is normal to the direction of heat transfer. Now consider this diagram. This is a plain wall, this is the cut section, and area is this area which is normal to the direction of heat transfer. Direction of heat transfer is here from left to right, and it is along the positive x direction. This is positive x direction, you know well. The vertical is y direction, positive y, and this into the plane or into the paper is a z direction. So all three dimensions are covered. Now we are talking about only the positive x direction. So heat transfer rate from this phase to this phase over the distance dx is happening by conduction. So heat transfer rate q is directly proportional to the area, this area which is perpendicular to this direction, and the temperature gradient in this direction. Now temperature difference is only a numerical difference between T1 and T2, but temperature gradient is a relative term, that is change in temperature over the change in direction, or change in the over some length or over some distance. So dt is the temperature difference here over the distance dx. So this quantity dt by dx is temperature gradient. So so heat transfer rate is directly proportional to this area as well as temperature gradient. So thereby combining these two, we get the equation as q equal to minus ka dt by dx. So why this minus sign introduced? Because uh, this dt by dx is a negative term, because temperature dt is the temperature difference. T2 minus T1 is taken as T2 minus T1. T2 is less than T1, so difference will be negative, and dx distance is positive. So one negative, one positive, so whole thing becomes negative. So to take to mathematically adjust for this negative impact, and to get this q as a positive quantity, this negative sign is introduced. That is why you see minus ka dt by dx. So this is the general equation of Fourier's law for heat conduction. Now k is known as thermal conductivity of any material, that is a uh, property of material. So that indicates, it is a physical property of material that indicates the ability of material to conduct the heat. Then the units of thermal conductivity are in SI. These are watt per meter Kelvin. These are devised like this. Heat transfer rate is in watt, area is in meter square, dt by dx, temperature gradient is in Kelvin per meter. So by just cancelling out and mathematically deducing this, we get watt per meter Kelvin. So temperature difference, we can also take it in degrees Celsius. So watt per meter degrees Celsius, that is also equivalent. So watt per meter Kelvin and watt per degrees Celsius, watt per meter degrees Celsius, both are equal terms. Then the materials having very high conductivity value are known as good conductors of heat, and the materials with very low conductivity are known as poor conductors or bad conductors of heat. All metals have very high conductivity, that also we have covered, and the materials having low conductivity are known as insulators. Insulators such as thermocol, plastic, rubber, wood, asbestos, mineral wool, all these are used to prevent the heat loss. So uh, whenever we have to reduce the heat transfer, or we have to block the heat transfer, insulating materials will be used in those cases. Then also we discussed the thermal conductivity of solids, liquids, and gases. Conduction is mostly seen or predominantly seen in case of solids, but it also happens in case of liquids and gases. So liquids and gases also conduct the heat by conduction. Only the difference is the effect of conduction is very very low as compared to the solids. That is why conductivity of liquids and gases are much lesser as compared to the solids. So conductivity of solids will always be highest. Then conductivity liquids lies between the solids and gases will be on lower side. So these are some guideline values for some common materials. Now let us proceed further. The this thermal conductivity this thermal conductivity value also for some materials, it also depends on temperature. It also depends on temperature. Now let us see the effect of this temperature on thermal conductivity of various materials. First, we will discuss about solids, and then we will go for liquids, and then we will end with gases. So solids are particularly divided as metals and non-metals. Metals and non-metals. Metals you already know what is that material. I will not explain it again. In metals, the conduction occurs due to lattice vibrations as well as due to flow of electrons. And the conduction is mostly due to flow of electrons in case of metals. But what happens is, as the temperature increases, temperature of the metal increases, the lattice vibrations also increase, and due to these vibrations or moving atoms, motions of oscillating motion of atoms and molecules, they provide some resistance. They obstruct the flow of electrons through them, and due to this, this effect of conduction uh, is reduces. So due to this, the conductivity of metals reduces. Combined effect is that when temperature increases for metals, its conductivity reduces. So for metals, its conductivity is inversely proportional to temperature. So when temperature increases, conductivity of metal decreases. Similarly, for non-metals, as you know, in case of non-metals, there are no any free electrons available in the microstructure. The conduction only occurs due to lattice vibrations, that is vibrations of atoms and molecules in a crystal. And as the temperature increases, the frequency of these vibrations increase, and due to this, overall effect is conduction increases. So for non-metals, K is directly proportional to T. Through this graph, all these effects are shown. This graph is for metals and this for non-metals. As you can see, uh, variation. This is T. X-axis is taken temperature, so it is ranging from 0 to 300 to 500 degrees Celsius, and K is given in watt per meter Kelvin. As you can see, most of the metals, almost all metals, like copper, magnesium, zinc, uh, with some exceptions, they show decreasing or falling trend of K with temperature. As the temperature increases, temperature K coming down, K uh, K decreases for almost all metals. Only some exceptions are there, like aluminum and mercury. They show increasing trend. Same same graph is taken for non-metals. Non-metals such as insulating materials, fire brick, concrete, red bricks, mineral wool, wood, all they show increasing trend with the temperature. As temperature increases, K value increases. Then effect of direction on thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity also depends on the uh, direction of a material, how the material or the composition of material or homogeneity of a material uh, is lying with the direction. So this is because of non-homogeneity and crystal orientation and grain structure. So this has to do with this has to do with some microstructure of material. So there are some materials which show different thermal conductivity in different directions. In suppose suppose a block of any material is taken. So it has length, it has width, and it has depth. So along length, it will have a different conductivity. Along depth, a different conductivity, and along the width, a different conductivity will be shown or will be exhibited by that material. So such materials are known as anisotropic materials, particularly non-metals such as wood, plastic, rubber. All these show this variation in conductivity. So these materials are known as anisotropic. The examples are wood, plastic, rubber, ceramic, etc. In case of metals, mostly conductivity remains same in all directions. Uh, let it be lengthwise or widthwise or depthwise, all show the same value of conductivity. So such type of materials are known as isotropic materials. Are known as isotropic materials. So these two terms are very important. Isotropic material means uh, conductivity conductivity is independent of direction. In all directions, same conductivity will be shown. And anisotropic materials, their conductivity will be different in different dimension or different direction. Lengthwise, it will be different. Depthwise, different. Widthwise, different. So these aspects you have to understand and remember well. Uh, then conductivity of liquids. Again, for liquids, it is inversely proportional to temperature. It is just like solids or metals. Conductivity of liquids is inversely proportional to temperature. So when temperature increases, conductivity K decreases for liquids. This is shown on this graph. There are some exceptions such as water, for which as temperature increases, conductivity also increases, and the rest of other liquids such as oil, acetic acid, some uh, uh, some synthetic oils, all they show a decreasing trend with the temperature. Then for gases, here we see some reverse behavior or reverse pattern as against two liquids. In this case, the conductivity of gases increases with the rise in temperature. So as temperature increases, conductivity of gases also increase. Again, this is true for all gaseous materials such as air, nitrogen, argon, carbon dioxide, oxygen, water vapor. Okay, then uh, sometimes the conductivity also depends on pressure. The effect of pressure is very negligible in case of liquids, but in case of gases, the effect of pressure is severely seen or strongly seen. So whenever there is a rise in pressure of any gas, the gas becomes dense, so molecules become close to each other, and thereby conductivity increases. So conductivity of gases is also directly proportional to pressure. So this is how the variation of conductivity of for solids, liquids, and gases can be expressed. Now we are going to see the application of Fourier's law, and we are going to derive some standard formulae, so standard formulas for heat conduction across across the plane wall, across the cylinder or hollow pipe or hollow tube, and heat conduction through hollow sphere. All these three cases, standard cases, we are going to discuss. I think our time is getting up, so we will stop at this point and we will carry on from this point onwards. Uh, I actually wanted to cover all these three cases today, but due to that technical error and we lost some time. So anyway, we will cover that in tomorrow's lecture. Just wait for a few seconds. I will take down your attendance and then you can depart. So make sure that uh, from tomorrow onwards you are going to attend each and every lecture, uh, and attendance should be maintained throughout. So be careful about your attendance. That is going to have some weightage in final assessment. And if you keep on if you keep on missing or skipping the lectures, you might lose you might lose the continuity, and you might get some difficulty in understanding these aspects. So there has to be a continuity. then and then only this subject of heat transfer can be well understood. Okay, I think attendance I have recorded. So you may depart and come back tomorrow. We will meet and we'll continue our part, and be right on time. Always join just some couple of minutes before time. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. You can leave now.